Okay. All right. Everybody, welcome back to Black Card Rehab, the show where we go from zero to black, one episode at a time. I am joined by my white friend, Paige. Hey, Paige.
Hello.
Hi. On a scale of zero to black, how are you feeling today?
I am feeling the Boys to Men album that Columbia Records sent you in that music subscription program in the 90s that you fell in love with. And then, you had to remember to cancel it. So they didn't keep sending you CDs forever.
Which album was that?
I think that's how we got Cooley High Harmony, believe it or not.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. Either that or my uncle gave it to my dad. Either way, I was very young and it became one of our family albums. And Crystal, on a scale of 0 to African American, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling, let's see, what's the word? I'm trying to figure out a funny way to say give me your money. Because I listened to this podcast. So this is a thing that's been happening ever since the uprising has restarted. But white people and just non-Black people, period, have been sending their Black friends money out of the blue. And it has only happened to me once. And I was very grateful.
Did they send a note on the Venmo?
Yes.
For reparations?
I mean, it was in not so many words. Yeah, it was. And look, I was very happy. And the thing is, there was another podcast that I listened to where they were talking about this thing that is happening. And they talked to several Black people about it and how they feel about it. And I would say the first half of the episode is very negative about the money.
What?
Right. And there's a part of me that understands what they're saying, which is I don't want to be treated like I am your absolution.
Okay. Yeah.
And that makes sense. Or I don't, some people because people are getting money from people they haven't talked to in years, or you know what I mean?
Wild.
Or just getting a lot of money for projects they haven't completed, and they're like, I'm worth my art. Why not just have me do my art, and then I'm paying you what I'm, So I say all that to say, it was a very interesting episode, but my main thing was I hope at the end of that episode, people know that I still want their money. I don't want.
You're I'm an artist first, but a businesswoman second.
I don't want anybody to listen to that episode and be oh, maybe I shouldn't give Crystal money. No, I still want your money. So whatever version of Black that is, I'm that. You know what I am? I'm the United Negro College Fund. That's what I am.
Oh man. I get both sides of it. But I'm also not going to tell people not to give money. I will say giving money doesn't give you an N-word pass or anything like that.
Yeah.
You have to give that money just as a standalone act. It doesn't it doesn't cure you, if that makes sense. It's not. I feel like people are maybe treating this like televangelists, where if I give enough money, I'm not racist, and that's not how that works.
Right. Yeah, I think the feeling is this is the very least I could do, and maybe I've been silent when I shouldn't have been, and so let me start right here with my pocketbook. And I would just like to say, if your friends do not want your money, I personally will take your money. My Venmo is Crystal-Adams.
Oh man. Now, did the person who gave you money, was this someone that you believe had maybe been silent in times when they shouldn't have been? Is this somebody that you think you're like, yeah, thanks for that money, you should have done that?
Absolutely not. This was a person that I love and that I trust, and who more often than not stands up for people that do not look like her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I 100% was like, cool, like
Thank you.
this is dope. You know, I'm gonna stay at home and enjoy this. Yeah, it was like it was welcome, you know, like, and I understand there's plenty of people who, like, I just posted on Facebook that I'm going on an apology tour, and by that I mean I'm going to unfriend everybody on Facebook who still owes me an apology. um and some of that was
knowing you. Are you still friends with any of those people?
I am.
Really? Okay.
It was inspired by a specific post that I saw from a friend of mine that I had from college, who their post was triggering to me. I think anytime we see, like, I think staying Facebook friends with people, it sometimes feels like this innocuous thing if they don't post a lot. But as a Black person, the thing that actually bothers me more than getting money is seeing a post about somebody who I've noticed moments of cluelessness and what is the word? Disregard and just like ambivalence towards racism, all of a sudden start posting about the ways that they personally are starting to learn how to be anti-racist. And I'm just like, you could have fucking started with me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's real though.
You know, and I don't want to discourage people who want to go on that path, because I think that's necessary for us to move forward. But I feel like there's so many people like that who are posting now, who I had all these conversations with back in college and like after that, who I believe thought that by us having the conversation, they had done it.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like, I think that they thought that they did the thing. And now they're fucking saying that they no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really feel like they all could start with apologizing to me.
Oh man. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you you're wrong on that one. I do. Did you see? This is actually a couple weeks back now, but Leah Michelle, formerly of Glee fame. Did you see all that shit? Where she tried to do the apology tour of like, I'm so sorry if I made anyone feel bad.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. How it all started with George Floyd, though. She posted about George Floyd, and then the girl was like, please hold it, because you made my life miserable for years. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's all these posts where people want to act like they've always been on the side of, when they have actively been a part of the torment of Black people in their lives.
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, everyone has a waking up point. So I don't think anyone has been perfect 100% of the time. But then you need to be willing to admit that. You need to be like, I was wrong. And these things were in my face and I ignored it. Or I didn't understand and now I do. And that means that understanding comes with an apology. But the fact that she had not, like, the idea that she had reached this level of realization and hadn't even thought to talk to the people closest to her blew my. I was dying. So hysterical.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So today we are going to talk about one Miss Lauryn Hill.
Miss Hill, yes,
Miss Hill.
Miss
Education if you're nasty.
Miss Education if you're nasty. I have been in a Lauryn Hill cocoon since we finished our Sister Act episodes, where I have just been like consistently like re-listening to the Miss Education, but then also going back and listening to Fuji's albums and then just watching live performances has been the
Mhm.
biggest thing.
Mhm.
And I fell down a rabbit hole of like, what happened to Lauryn Hill?
Well,
Where is she though?
so let's back up. What did you, before you went into this rabbit hole, what
Yes.
did you know?
So I had liked Lauryn Hill back when she was in her heyday,
Mhm.
where I had seen Sister Act. I loved her in Sister Act. And then my uncle was a huge fan of both that Fuji's album with Killing Me Softly, which is the score, and then he had Miseducation and would play her version of Can't Take My Eyes Off of You all
Mhm.
the time. And
Mhm.
I love her version of both. I was obsessed with it. And I think he may actually have been the one to buy me Miseducation, the album,
Okay.
to listen to. So I have been listening to Lauryn Hill since I probably not even a teenager. Let's see, 95 or 6. I would have been like probably about 9 or 10 years old. So, but I had gone a long stretch of time because she hasn't had any new albums out. And so sometimes there's this thing of like out of sight, out of mind, where you don't hear from somebody and you totally forget about it. And then we watched Sister Act, and specifically Sister Act 2. And just in watching Sister Act 2, I was like, her voice is everything. It's so beautiful. And it's so different than pretty much anyone else. I don't think I've ever heard anyone else with a voice like that. And I was just like, man, why isn't she the most famous person in the world? Like, why isn't she Beyonce? Like, not that
Yeah.
Beyonce shouldn't be Beyonce. I love
Mhm.
Beyonce. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong. But I'm just like, why isn't this vocal talent everywhere? Why isn't she Adele? You know, like, why isn't she this ever present vocal force in our musical landscape? And that led me down the rabbit hole of what happened to Lauryn Hill after Miseducation came out. So you said you've seen her live.
I have seen her live as recently as I must have been 2 years ago now. I feel like
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's a lot of the live videos I have found have been either from 2 years ago or
Mhm.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
And those are the most recent. There's an amazing one from 2 years ago, though. I'm
Yeah.
curious if she did that song at your show.
Which song?
So Drake 2 years
Mhm.
ago sampled X Factor
Oh, yeah.
for Nice for
Mhm.
What.
Mhm.
And so I found videos of her covering Nice for What with her
Mm.
own rap lyrics and then singing the X Factor samples,
Interesting.
which was
Yeah.
amazing.
No, I don't remember. I feel like I would have remembered that if that had happened, but it's possible. I have to ask my friend. But I'll say, okay, so a few things about this concert.
Mm.
She was on time.
Good for her.
Good for her, which just for those of you who don't know, it is a well-known fact that Lauryn Hill. Actually, I think we should back up
Yeah.
and talk about like Lauryn Hill lore,
Yes.
because I think that even though like okay, you can tell me if that's factually true because you've been like down the rabbit hole,
I've been in the rabbit
but
hole.
like my sense of like what Lauryn Hill is and what she does is all because at a certain point, in spite of all the talent, in spite of all was offered her, Lauryn Hill decided that she was not our Negro. Okay.
That's
She's
part
like,
of it. That's
I
part of
am
it.
nobody's Negro.
Yes.
Um I feel like so much of what she will and won't do and the expectations that we have of her versus what she decides to meet seems over and over to come back to at least what I've seen from her saying and doing. It seems like she's decided I will not be owned by anything besides me.
So yes and no.
Okay,
Uh
yeah, tell me.
here's from my understanding and my research, here's the breakdown of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
In high school, she meets Wyclef and Pras, and they become the Fugees. She does Sister Act right around the same time. the source or the score, that first Fugees album, becomes huge. From that, she does her solo album. Now, right before she does her solo album, she has her first child
Zion.
with Rohan Marley, but they're not together necessarily at the time. There were rumors that she and Wyclef had a relationship that persisted for a while. So there's some debate as to whether Zion is really Rohan Marley's or Wyclef's. But regardless, she ends up in a long-term relationship with Rohan Marley. She puts out Miseducation. It is critically acclaimed, Grammy winning, I believe, not just nominated. And it becomes this like monolith of an album where people look to it as like, if you're going to have a first solo album, it better be that good, because fuck if you try to top that. She then proceeds to have another baby and is working herself kind of to the bone to try to come up with material for a second album. During that time, she meets a man that people have only referred to as Brother Anthony. And I have scoured my cult resources to find out who this dude is. And I got nothing.
What?
He is like a ghost. But
Brother Anthony?
Brother Anthony. And he is a religious figure that she chooses to follow. And it is a mix of what I would call weirdly conservative Christianity, but with kind of pieces of Rastafarianism and an overall pro-blackness, which is where she really kind of gets this strength of like, I'm not here to do what you want to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. And apparently one of the things that he was basically preaching to her was like, you're amazing, and whatever you want to do is the right thing to do. Which becomes a bit of a problem because she then starts maybe not showing up to things or maybe not meeting deadlines. She, over that next couple years, has another child. So she's up to like 3. And MTV.
And who are these children by?
Rohan Marley. They're pretty much all by.
Oh, they're all.
Yeah,
Okay.
except for the most recent one. And I don't know who the father is on that one.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. And so she has like a contract for a second album, and they decide that it's going to be her MTV like Unplugged or VH1, no, MTV, where she is a cappella basically going to do an album live.
Yeah.
And it is unfinished. So she basically goes out with what she's got, and it gets terrible reviews where people are like, this would have been maybe good if she had finished it, but it just doesn't seem like she ever finished it. Like,
oh man,
there's not enough.
You mean like Solange's last album?
Yeah, kind of. So at that point, she has another child, and then there's a brief Fugees reunion in like 2004 to 2006. Where they have a kind of small number of tour dates. They end up calling the tour early. And Praz says after that point that he will never work with Lauryn Hill again.
Wow.
Like, that's how bad of an impression she makes. She requires everyone to call her Miss Hill. She's perpetually late. She is just not showing up for some. She's not really collaborating, where they were supposed to make another Fugees album. And they're like, we can't. There's no collaboration here. Like we're no one's on the same page. No one is really working together. So that's at the point where Wyclef goes on to make his other solo album. He's already got solo albums at this point, but that's the point where he's just like, fuck the Fugees, not doing it anymore.
When is Wyclef with? Because
early. This like he's potentially, there's rumors that he may be the father of her first kid, which is before Miseducation. So that's like way in the past. And yeah, and it's suspect. There's a couple different stories floating around about that. I think it's very possible that it's just Rohan Marley's son. I wouldn't doubt that. Nobody's going to test it, I don't think.
Right. Well, I'm
so-
looking at the names of the kids, and the third one is named Micah Hill.
Yeah. They all have her last name because her and Rohan never got married.
Oh, but the thing is the other two, the first two have Marley as their last name.
Yeah, and I think it's just whatever legal name she attached to them, but they were never married officially. They talked about getting married a bunch and don't actually do it. She ends up having 5 children total. Her most recent child is by somebody else. We don't know who it is. As far as we know now, she still communicates with Brother Anthony, and he is still like governing her career.
Where is he?
I have no idea. And no one else seems to know him. No one knows who introduced him to her. Every article I read, they were like, yeah, Brother Anthony, he's a full-on cult leader, but apparently she's listening to him now. Like, everyone's just kind of like bitter about Brother Anthony. And it's only now.
Do you think maybe Brother Anthony is what she calls her period?
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. That'd be hysterical. I'm on board for that theory. I'm here for it.
And you haven't seen any pictures of him or anything, though? Like,
I can't find any photos. I can't find any like documented group that he's a part of. It's almost like he's a cult leader with a membership of one, and that one is Lauryn Hill.
Yeah. And the only time he's being referred to is by people that are trying to work with her.
Anyone who's been in contact with her. So anyone so the Fugees have met him. Her previous record management and everybody's met him. A couple other people who have like collaborated with her on songs, because she has continued to like behind the scenes collaborate on a lot of stuff. They have all met him, like, and everyone just kind of has the same thing to say about him, where they're just like, we wish he would go away. Like, he's just in the way. And nobody really knows.
That's like me talking about my period, honestly. Like,
true. He kind of reminds me, in just the things that people have said about him, of like Rasputin with the Romanov family, where everyone is just kind of like, why is that guy gotta be here? Like, but so that kind of brings us up to present day, where she has like 5 children. She lives with her mother in New Jersey.
Okay.
In, I would assume, a large house. There's 5 children. And has been steadily working on new material for new music for like half a decade or more, and is slowly going out and doing live shows again.
So when I saw her, I don't think I listened to anything like, or like attempted to find out anything about like music that she's put out before going. My friend was the one that got the tickets, and she was one that really wanted to see her. And it's like, who's going to turn down a chance to see Lauryn Hill, you know?
Yeah.
And this was back when she was doing a lot of touring for some time. And, you know, the word on the street was mostly that she was trying to pay taxes. But
she has had a substantial tax issue, specifically 2 to 4 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but she was also like scheduling these tour dates, and then either showing up like hours late or not showing up at all. Just, I don't know, based on whatever she wanted to do. And then so at our concert, she showed up on time, but there was still this feeling of like, I'm still not owned by you guys, because of course, when people go to a Lauryn Hill concert, what they want is to revisit Miseducation. Yeah. They want to revisit that album. And she was performing and doing songs in such a way that like the original song was almost unrecognizable. So the arrangements was such that like from the beginning. Like you couldn't hear like the first, you know, strain of notes and figure out what song it was. And sometimes it wouldn't be like till she decided to stop dancing and start singing that you're like, oh, it's that song. Oh yeah, because she was dancing, and she had like a interpretive dancer on stage too. That reminded me very much of the church I used to go to as a kid. They were like all in white with a very like long, flowy white skirt. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Yep. Do you want to hear
So
more about her tax problems?
oh, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but yeah, so that's what it was like going to a concert for her, but I could tell people were disappointed, but I knew going in it's not going to be what we want it to be.
Yeah.
And even my friend was disappointed, but I was just like, it's Lauryn Hill. She's never going to do what you want her to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, it was enjoyable, but it wasn't what anybody necessarily expected or wanted.
So,
yeah,
she had to serve. So in May of 2013, she served 3 months in prison for failing to file taxes, and then a further 3 months of house arrest as part of a year's supervised probation. She was released early on good behavior because by the time she actually ended up going to jail, she had paid back almost $1 million in back taxes and penalties. And part of that's from unreported income from 2008 and 2009. So that's when she was touring, when she didn't have an album out, and so she said in her defense that she is a child of former slaves who had an economic system imposed upon them and her. So she did actually serve time. When she got out, she started to make money. She would do narration on documentaries. So she's like the voice of a documentary called Concerning Violence, which is a Swedish documentary on the African liberation struggles of the 1960s and 70s. But this is when a lot of that erratic behavior kind of starts, where she starts canceling shows. She starts just not showing up. She starts coming in late. It starts after prison. And then I'm sure it was happening before also, but it notably started after prison. She did contribute to the soundtrack for What Happened, Miss Simone, which is the movie about Nina Simone.
Yes, I love that movie. So good.
And she gained critical acclaim for her performance on that soundtrack, which, to be honest, if you had to pick a modern voice to try and emulate Nina Simone, I think you can't really do much better than Lauryn Hill. I think that's a great way to go.
I know. Well, Zoe Saldana isn't going to do it, so.
Yeah. So she then in 2016 starts in on like another big tour where she hits like Austin City Limits and a bunch of like big festivals, but she was approximately 2 hours and 20 minutes late for her show in Atlanta. And then she only did like 40 minutes of a show because the venue had to close at 11.
Right.
And then she tried to argue that she had only actually been like an hour late.
Oh, like for contract purposes, so that she didn't have to like pay up whatever.
Yeah, I think so. Yep. Now, she has been ranked on a number of lists as one of the greatest rappers of all time, specifically one of the greatest female rappers of all time, and one of the greatest singers of all time, which is almost unheard of for somebody who literally only has 4 total albums to her name, and that includes her 2 albums with the Fugees. So wildly influential, and she has actually been sampled a number of times. So occasionally, if you feel like you hear somebody that sounds like Lauryn Hill, it probably is. She's probably being sampled on somebody else's song. But most notably in Drake's Nice for What, which then in 2018, she covered during a performance at the Apollo.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
And I have video of that if you want to see it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Absolutely. I wonder, yes. So I wonder if she showed up on time at the Apollo. I bet she was like,
I don't
for
think
my
anybody
people, I
did.
guess. Nobody showed up late. Nobody
No, no,
showed up
no.
late at the Apollo.
Well, I mean, if everyone shows up at the same time, is it really late? That's all I'm saying.
That's true.
Yeah. No, it doesn't seem like it. It seems like she popped in maybe.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because I found a bunch of videos from that night where it seems like there was a show in progress and she shows up. It was
Mhm.
clearly planned because they're playing a whole set, but it
Yeah.
looks like it was kind of a secret to everybody else. But
Mm.
as far as I know, after that big, like when she was like 2.5 hours, 3 hours late, after that, the late rumors kind of fizzle out. And I think a
Okay.
lot of that is contractual because she can't afford to lose that money, I think.
Oh.
Which I think not a lot of people understand, but like you have, I'm sure, encountered this in comedy. When somebody contracts you for an event, they're contracting you for a certain amount of time
Mhm.
for performing, and usually you're also contracted for, like, you have to be there for sound check, any number of things. So like whenever I sign a contract for comedy, like if you book me for an hour, I kind of have to do an hour of comedy, and if I
Mhm.
don't, you could not pay me the full amount. And so I
Mhm.
think that's kind of what she's battling and why she's maybe not so late anymore.
Interesting, because yeah, I mean, it was just like it really was crapshoot. It was just like there are people that were so upset because they had bought tickets and then she didn't even show up, and
Mm-hmm.
this is interesting. Okay, so why do you do you lay most of the blame on like why Lauryn Hill isn't a bigger star on Brother Anthony?
I lay a lot of the blame there. Now,
Okay.
that said, there do seem to be aspects of Lauren's personality that maybe contributed to either Brother Anthony having a bigger impact, or
Mhm.
B, her kind of taking the things that Brother Anthony said too far. Because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, like, I understand being secure in your art and devoted to your personal voice and not,
Mhm.
I get if she didn't want to be the voice of giraffe number 3 in Madagascar 2. I get it. And this industry wants that of you a lot. And I
Mhm.
think that's kind of what she wanted to avoid. She's like, I don't want to
Mhm.
be your commercialized nonsense. I want to make the music I want to make and put it out and be successful, but it's got to be the stuff I want to make. And I
Yeah.
feel like if we take that ethos and apply it to other people, there are so many wildly successful people with that same feeling. Like,
Mhm.
that is Prince all day long,
Mhm.
every day. Like, Prince is nobody's anybody. Prince
Yeah.
does what Prince want to do, and that's about it. And was, pretty successful with it. And I think the difference is Prince also kind of understood that you have to sometimes play by somebody else's rules to get what you want.
Right. And I think the I guess the thing that is respectful, or I don't know, I think interesting and creative about the his approach is getting out of a contract by basically um giving them an album that they didn't want but that they said that they wanted.
Yep.
By the way, I'm looking at her website right now, and on August 4th she posts a sincere apology to Glasgow.
Real August 4th of this past year?
I don't know, it's not clear, but it says my sincerest apologies Glasgow for the late show and the shorter set. I appreciate the energy and support I did receive from the great crowd and the patience of the promoters. This is like, as she goes on, yeah, but it's like an apology.
Yeah.
Now, if Lauryn Hill can apologize to Glasgow, my former college friends can apologize to me. That's how I feel. All right. Well, what else did you find out that put the pieces together, or that you didn't, or that was surprising?
I think so I had always suspected, because I had heard rumors, that the reason we didn't see more of Lauryn Hill, or the reason that we only occasionally saw her, was that she had joined a very specific religious lifestyle. That's something that I had heard. But I was under the assumption that it was like, oh no, she's going to go full Rastafarianism and doesn't give a fuck about the entertainment industry. She's just going to do what she wants to do. And to me, that made sense. I was like, that is in line with the Lauryn Hill we know and love. And that's what I expected to find when I fell down the rabbit hole. So when I found out that it was just some dude named Brother Anthony, I was like, what? What? And that she just like lives in New Jersey like a normal person. I was just like, what? Somebody get rid of Brother Anthony. Like, what are we doing? Like, someone rescue her. Or, I guess she probably maybe doesn't want to be rescued. I mean, that's a thing with cults where you can't just pull someone out of a cult. People have to be ready to leave. It's like a whole process. It's like an abusive relationship a lot of the time. Where
go ahead.
Oh, where people need to see it for themselves before they can see their way out, if that makes sense.
So why I guess I'm wondering, how is it possible that like anytime you look up something about her, like his name never comes up? Like, in terms of official things, like, you know what I mean?
So it is in a few, because I found an oral history of what happened to her, and there's a couple other videos on YouTube about what happened to her. It's usually buried, and it's usually in interviews with Wyclef or Pross, who both met him. But if you search Lauryn Hill Brother Anthony, a whole host of stuff comes up. Or if you search Lauryn Hill cult, tons of stuff comes up, because it was one of those things where I kept waiting for someone to be like, yeah, she became a Jehovah's Witness or something like that, where I was like, where it was a tangible thing that I was like, oh, I know what that is. But then to have people just be like, yeah, this Brother Anthony guy just kept floating around, and you're just like, who is he?
Yeah.
Some sort of off-brand Charles Manson? What's going on?
I mean, it smells of... So, like, I've been for a while following some other comedians. They do a podcast called Britney's Gram.
I love Britney's Gram.
Yeah, so
where she's
it's
got
a great
conservatorship.
Podcast. Exactly, but the thing that it's reminding me of is, so for those of you who don't know, and a lot of people, if you don't follow or like care about Britney Spears, it's fine. You can maybe skip to like 5 minutes ahead, but like. It's a really important thing that they're trying to help expose, which is that Britney Spears isn't just in hiding. She isn't just like tired of making art, but that she is in fact being allegedly controlled by her father and some other players, like I guess her management. And she's being controlled financially and otherwise, to the point that she is probably taking medications that are causing her to be like compliant, and not able to like make decisions about her life and her future in a way that you would expect a normal person to be able to make those decisions. And it's, if you want to know more about it, I would recommend listening to that podcast. They go into the weeds about it and they interview people and they've done their research. So, you can kind of trust what they're saying. And they've talked to people who have been in and out of the Britney camp. But what it reminds me of in particular is the relationship that the father and the camp that's controlling her seem to have with TMC in terms of, and other media outlets in terms of like squashing any negative press about them. Like you can't, it was really hard for a long time to find anything that said specifically what they were doing. And if anything negative reporting came out, like TMZ would never cover it. And TMZ is supposedly covers fucking everything.
Right.
And there's a few other like gossip outlets that like wouldn't cover it, or they would cover it in a certain way to skew in favor of her conservators.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess that's why it's weird to me that like you're reading official things and I don't know if it's like Lauren's camp or brother Anthony's camp who is
Mm-hmm.
like like
Well, and I don't know how much of this is like brother Anthony planted the seed and Lauren just took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
I don't know how involved he still is.
Mhm.
I struggled to even officially find his like doctrines or anything like that, or like
Mhm.
what sort of church or whatever he came from. And so it seemed like from everyone who talked about him that they didn't even really know that he had
Mhm.
somehow gained kind of a level of access to Lauren that almost no one else had.
Mhm.
And people couldn't really break through that connection.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, it's strange for sure.
Did it seem like the people that you're like that are talking about it, did it seem like she had just like been on the phone with him, or like but you said you did say that they
people
had
have met
met
him.
him.
Yeah, people have
Oh
met him.
shoot. So
He's been around. She would be on the phone with him like a lot, like where he's like around
Mhm.
to the point where, because it'd be one thing if like I feel like if he wasn't present, we would hear a
Mhm.
lot more of like, yeah, I think she listens to this weird religious guy. And instead what
Mhm.
we're hearing is it's brother Anthony. Here's who he
Oh my god.
is, And while they don't have a ton of information about him, they all have like a name to put to him, if that makes sense.
Sure. Now I'm like, what if this podcast becomes Lauren's Graham?
Oh my god.
And we just
Is she on
investigate.
Instagram?
I don't know. Let me see.
Because she seemed kind of like anti-social media
Oh,
for a
sure, for
while.
sure. I just wonder if like she has somebody posting for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, because I also, you guys, look, if Paige and I come up missing after this
I mean,
podcast,
if I come up missing, call the Scientologists first.
Oh yeah, you're right. But if I come up missing, find out who the hell is Brother Anthony.
Who is Brother Anthony? Yeah. I'm curious. Here's my thing. If he came in and was an amazing muse and we had just a bunch of new Lauryn Hill music that was awesome and irreverent as hell, I'm here for it. Like,
oh yeah.
thank you. It's the fact that she seems to kind of disappear. And I think, some people have speculated that she felt a lot of pressure and a lot of stress to try and live up to her first album and felt like it was inescapable, which
Yeah.
is totally understandable considering that her first album is like the benchmark for what an album should be. Like when you've got that hanging over your head, I totally understand this feeling of like, what am I supposed to do now?
Well, she does have an Instagram account. It's called Miss Lauryn Hill.
Following.
And yeah, it does seem to be her account, although I'm sure somebody's posting on her behalf. But it does look like it's whoever's posting on her behalf does have contact with her enough to get like her direct quotes for the posts.
Okay.
There are only 55, but there is a seemingly genuine one that looks like it's from her when Kobe passed away.
Okay.
Yeah. So the rest are like weird collages.
Is she verified?
Yeah. Yep. It's got the blue check. So
is it
everybody
Miss, like,
heads up.
MS?
This is No, it's MS Lauryn Hill spelled out.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, there she is.
There she is. So we're gonna have to rearrange the logo for this podcast and change the website to Lauren's Graham.
She's got we could just straight up email her and be like, so who this Brother Anthony though?
Yeah. Where he be at? Well, I should say one of the things about Lauryn Hill, so like love her music, I love the spirit of like that we've been talking about, of like really doing what you feel like doing creatively.
Yeah.
I think that's really important not to lose that. And that's something that's like really been important to me. But the song Doo-Wop, like it's so catchy and it's so like great musically and lyrically, but then you listen to it. I mean, I listened to it on this side of understanding my feminism and understand it does not at all line up.
No. There are some. Now that said, the second verse, I'm here for
about
it.
men.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Love it. Musically amazing. Yes. And I think it's the same feeling I have when I think about my favorite TV shows that have ended, where it's something you love, so you want more of it. But maybe what we have is the best version, and we should take what we have. And she should just, perform Miss Education live forever.
Yeah. I mean, I really I've stood by for a long time like this quote I heard from, I don't even know who it's from, but this quote, it says that entertainers give the audience what they want, and then but artists give the audience what they need. And it feels like Lauryn is in a constant state of being that artist.
Yeah.
So that's how I felt about the performance that I saw. It was just like, yeah, it wasn't what everybody expected, but I think it was uplifting, it was entertaining, it was interesting to watch. At one point Nas came out, it was dope. It was a dope show.
I kept looking for tickets because if she comes to LA, I want to go. Like, if she comes anywhere close, basically anywhere on the West Coast, I want to go.
What is happening on her website? Why is it just this one video?
Yeah, it's not a lot. There's not a lot there. The tour dates I found were mostly in Europe. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, any other things we should know about her?
I think that was another thing. So, in some of her later shows, this is just random factoid, she would sometimes wear these huge outfits where she was layering multiple layers of clothes. Sometimes she would be in like an entire like tribal outfit. And sometimes they were so heavy she could not easily move around the stage, which is the case with her performance at the Apollo, which I do want to show you.
Okay.
Because it is both amazing and I wish I was there, but you're also watching her like struggle with a giant cape. And you're just like, why, Lauryn?
I do feel like that is my second state.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. She supposedly is performing in Carson in August.
What?
That's what it says. That's what the website says.
How much are tickets? When can we go?
I don't know. Let's see. We have to RSVP. Let's see. I love that it says RSVP and not buy tickets.
That doesn't bode well.
I know. I think everything's like, written
tentative.
In pencil right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only allowing me to like sign up for notifications, I guess, when they go on sale. So
that makes sense.
All right.
Well, if she reschedules, I'm down.
We'll put a link to that performance that you're talking about in the show notes so you guys can all watch it. Other than that, yeah, you guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to Black Card Rehab.
Thank you for letting me ramble about Lauryn Hill for a long time.
Yeah, it was great. I loved going down. At one point, I think you said going down the rabbit hill, and that was appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, you guys, we will be black next time.